one of the, I guess, tightropes that somebody in your position has to walk quite a bit, Dan Quinn, is that when you talk about players that have just popped free as a free agent, people might take that to mean you're not pleased with your current roster, or you are in being complimentary about somebody else, potentially denigrating who you currently have on the roster. But that said, all of us in the media are dot connectors. We like connecting dots. And with Earl Thomas being a free agent and you being the DC of the Legion of Boom when it was legioning and booming and coming together, a lot of people have connected those dots. So what do you say about the possibility of reuniting with Earl Thomas, Coach?
Yeah, well, I think two things. One, I'd say one of my favorite all-time competitors. And I can remember all the way back, I was at his pro day coming out of the University of Texas. And this was the player, he wanted to, I think at the combine it was, over 4.3. He wanted it lower. So, like, most people no, I'll stand on my combine numbers. Nope, went after it again. He wanted to lower it to, wanted to be in the 4.2s or 4.3s, whatever. I can't remember the number, but I remember him going for it again. And so I had the chance to be around him as a rookie, and the practice habits, the effort, the competition. And then I left for 2 years and then came back to Seattle, and to see him grow into that role. So definitely one of my all-time favorite competitors. I think the position on our team is one that we've got, it's one of strength for us at safety with Keanu and Ricardo and DeMonte KZ. So it's not a spot that we're looking to address, but he'll always have a spot, with me in terms of, the effort, the competitor. I'd absolutely love the guy. But as far as joining our team, we're squared away where we're at safety due to the players that we have there today.
Yeah, I hear you on that front. And in terms of, Earl, as you mentioned, being one of the best competitors and one of the best at the position and with a Hall of Fame credential, again, I know it's not your team, it's somebody else's team. But the reports that my colleague Mike Silver saying that Earl, part of the reason why he wore out his welcome was that he told coaching staff that he needed time to wash his car in between practice and meetings. How does that compute when you hear? And again, I'm not denigrating my colleague. Mike Silver gets his information right. It's just I don't know how to compute with Earl Thomas with what's going on.
Well, I would
there,
say
Dan.
I can only speak to my experience, and this player showed up to walk through with cleats on and a mouthpiece every day, so he could put himself in the moment. And so if that isn't locked in, I don't know what is. So he was he had the rare ability, Rich, to stay focused for a really long time. Oftentimes on a Friday afternoon, I'd be walking out and there you'd hear music coming from the DB meeting room. And I knew who it was because it was his last checklist of going through things on a Friday afternoon when most of the building had left. And I'd just pop in. I'd say, hey, man, is there any questions that are coming up in your mind? And, if he did, we'd talk about them. But those were just two small examples of like how locked in a person can be on the moment. He had the rare ability just to keep a focus for a really long time, which is not easy for not just the ball player, but for anybody.
Yeah, I remember that 2010 draft, Coach, where, again, Pete Carroll just come from USC, and we all knew that they needed, Seattle needed to take a safety. Everybody assumed it would be Taylor Mays because Pete would know him, and he would just won with him. And no, it's Earl Thomas from Texas, and it kind of threw everyone for a loop. But we all saw what happened after that first draft choice of the Carroll Schneider era in Seattle.
Yes,
was Earl Thomas.
With Chancellor and Thomas and the same draft, the competitiveness of what it stood for, and certainly at secondary, like Pete had a remarkable role for what they would do right away. But Earl came in as one of the best practicing players right off the bat, the speed, the intensity. And I think probably during my time through the NFL, two players stood out to me. I had a defensive background, you know that, but I would say in San Francisco it would have been Bryant Young, and in Miami, Junior Seau. And so Earl came to Seattle with some of those traits of a guy who just would go for it. And I just remember sending some tape to one of my friends who was in college to say, you want to know how, like they were asking about practice tempo, and I sent tape of Earl to say, this is what it should look like.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.